My name is Mohammed. I'm a refugee that lives in Australia. You know, like, all I can think about is I was only 10 years old at that time, so it would have been, it's hard to say what I would have felt like, but, you know, I remember I still had friends there, but I did not have my dad or any of my brothers home because if they would have stayed home, the Taliban would come and take them. During the night times, like at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, my brothers and my dad would come back because that's the time that they would not be around, the Taliban. The things that when I think of, like, when I was 10 is all those violent things that really happen inside the house with the Taliban coming in and trying to use force to take something out, to take something from us, or ask us where your parents are, or, you know, this sort of things. Yeah, I used to cry a lot, and I couldn't do anything else. What was crying gonna do with it? So. One of my brothers came before us to Australia. He came through a boat as well, but once he reached the detention center, because he saw that there are a lot of opportunities in Australia, we could have a good life. So he said that I want my young brother to come to Australia. When I was there, you know, like my mom, when she told me that you have to go with your brother and your auntie, I was like, okay, you know, like there was this moment of like crying and, you know, not leaving, Mom, I don't want to leave you, but again, I was young, so for me, going somewhere would have been like okay for me. Through the help of a smuggler, we gave out like everything we had to the smuggler. We gave our houses, land, whatever we had to the smuggler, and then he helped us get like a plane ticket and organize all our travel expenses to go to Australia. And the smuggler took us to Pakistan. From Pakistan, he took us to Malaysia. From Malaysia to Indonesia, and that was our last pit stop before catching a boat to come to Australia. In Indonesia, we stayed nearly for 6 months in order for them to organize a boat. We had over 100 and something people in our boat, including women, children. Whereas my own brother, he had 6 kids under his supervision, and I was the oldest. That took us 7 days in order to reach Australian waters. Once we reached Australian water, I remember this really good, that I saw a bird flying in the sky around us. You know, it was just flying around. And I asked my brother, I'm like, look, there is a bird. And he told me that that is a sign of an island, or somewhere, like there's an island, we're close by somewhere, there should be an island. So I was really happy that, look, we might be in Australia. But instead, as I was watching, I saw a really big ship, the Navy ship of Australia, coming towards us. And the Navy ship of Australia told everyone that was on the boat that you have to go back where you came from. Just go back. And they told the captain of our boat that you have to return, you have to go back. There were people that started panicking in the boat. They started breaking the engines, and they were doing things to to damage the boat. But all of a sudden, where I saw this fire coming from underneath, and this thick smoke, like just went everywhere around the boat, and all of a sudden you see a big fire. And now everyone is throwing themselves in the water. It took 2 hours for the Australian Navy ship to clear us all out of the water. Once we were in the Navy ship, we heard that there was another lady who died as well in that incident. So in total, 2 ladies died in that event. The Australian government told us that in order for us to process your cases, you guys need to go to Nauru. But they did not do that. And they lied to us. We were there in the detention center for nearly 3 years, in army tents, living life. But then there were people, inside the detention center with mental illnesses, going through depression, anxieties, a lot of diseases, especially malaria was one of the common diseases that was there. These sort of things, people were really depressed, psychotic disorders, people are trying to commit suicide within the detention center. That's how bad it was. There were 3 people who saw their lips, and every week people would just join in the hunger strike, and they would not eat, they wouldn't drink, and the hunger strike went for 3 weeks. After that 3 weeks, it got on the news everywhere around the world. In Australia, people started noticing us that we're in Nauru, those guys are really in pain, and so the media really helped us, our voices were heard. So that's how we got accepted, the Australian immigration or the Australian government told us that, okay, you guys are allowed to come into Australia as a temporary protection visa on a TPV. Everything was just kind of new to me, and the new environment, the new buildings, new people, they're all different. So yeah, it was very unique for me coming to Australia. When I first arrived in Australia, there were a lot of people. First of all, my brothers, they came and helped us. Apart from my brothers, we had the community members who came and helped, and also other people from different organizations like Human Services. We didn't know about the organizations really well, and because we didn't know the language, that made it even harder. Me and my nephews and nieces, we went to language school, and in the language school, they were teaching us how to speak English, because that was the main barrier that was stopping me from meeting other people. I went to the language school for a couple of months, and they said that you're ready to go to high school. And mind you that I've never done primary school in my life, and I've never done any studies before that. I couldn't make any friends. I couldn't hang out with them. I couldn't talk with them. So there were the things that were stopping me, But there were times that people used to tell me, hey, you should go back to where you're from. Those sort of things, they would hurt a lot inside. But, I had to be patient, and I had to ignore those sort of things in order to have a positive life and try to accept all those things in my life.